Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know, we are now in day 3 by New Japan Pro Wrestling with Best of the Super Juniors. Now, keep in mind, boys and girls, we are now, of course, in the crucial area. They just finished, of course, with the opening round matches in the respective blocks in A and B. Now, the crucial part is who will be, of course, leading in the respective blocks, who will be up ahead, who will be down below. We're going to dissect through everything. And then, of course, we move on with WWE Evolve. A few things are happening. As you probably know, Vanity Project continues to run shenanigans to claim that they are the ones running the entire brand. But the real question is who's going to stand up against them. And then, of course, we have a very interesting development in the women's division. As you probably can guess, there's going to be a new crowning down the line of a brand new Evolved Women's Champion. As you probably can guess, Callie Armstrong is telling everybody that this is her time to run the division. But it seems now more women are lining up to say, hell no. So we'll see how that rolls up. And then, of course, our last review will be none other than AEW Dynamite Spring Break. This one features many matches, including, of course, the AEW Women's World Title in an 4-way eliminator match between Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Azumi, and, of course, Sky Blue. But the real question is, will Toni Storm make sure no one challenges, or there will be a challenger in the mix down the road? And, of course, the main event features Samoa Joe taking on Jon Moxley for the AEW World Title in a steel cage match. The obvious question I think many of us are going to ask, is Samoa Joe going to pull off to dethrone Jon Moxley, who in fact is trying to claim that the entire company needs to be saved from fakers and all this other stuff? But we will see how that will roll up. And then, as usual, we'll cap up our episode with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the yapping. So, in the words, of course, in the movie Spaceballs, it's time to go ludicrous speed. So, let's begin with New Japan Pro Wrestling's Best of the Super Juniors. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling. We are now in day 3 of Best of the Super Juniors. They made a pit stop in Korakuen Hall. Now, remember, there's 2 blocks involved in this tournament. There's the A block and B block. Now, there will be some days they'll have, of course, one day with all block A matches or all B block matches, or just mix them up. However, both blocks are involved in this particular show. Now, remember, day 1 and 2 are just the opening rounds of the entire tournament. But the real question many of us would ask, who will be, of course, moving up ahead? So we will find out, because there's still those who haven't won their first matches. So most likely we'll see a lot of things happen from there. Now, let's move on. Our first match is from the B block. We have Titan versus Ryusuke Taguchi. Now, nothing too much about this. But remember, Taguchi's the kind of guy who likes to have a bit of fun, try to find ways to pick up a win. But when it comes to Titan, he is a kind of guy with no BS whatsoever. He was able to pick up the win when he applied a bridge onto Taguchi, giving him his first 2 points, leaving him, but of course, with 1-1, meaning he has 1 loss and 1 win. And of course, Taguchi is also now in that predicament. So basically, he has 1 win and 1 loss. Now we jump into A block. We have Francisco Akira versus Ninja Mac. Now, of course, these guys, as you probably can guess, Francisco Akira did not pick up his first win in the opening round, but Ninja Mac did. So the real question is, will Ninja Mac pick up another win? I mean, we've seen what an incredible athlete he is. I mean, he was surprised us in what he did against Robbie X. But, however, he had to deal with Francisco Akira, as you know, who is also trying to make a name for himself in the junior heavyweight division. But unfortunately, Ninja Mac came up short when he lost to Francisco Akira when he applied, of course, the fireball, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, in the point system, Francisco gained his 2 points, so basically he's 1-1. And the same thing with Ninja Mac, also 1-1. Now we jump back to B block. We have Kevin Knight versus Robbie Eagles. So this is a very unique, crucial type of match. Now, Kevin Knight was unsuccessful in his opening round match, but he faces against Robbie Eagles, who in fact already won his first match. But the real question is, will it be a tie, or will someone take the lead on this one? Well, that's a very good question. Now, Kevin Knight, as you know, he is a tall individual. It would have been a very difficult thing for when tried to apply a submission move for Kevin Knight. But however, it was successful when, of course, Robbie Eagles applied, of course, a knee strike onto him, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, picked up his first 2 wins. Now he is, of course, 2-0. So technically, he is currently in the B block undefeated. So he's good for now. And as for Kevin Knight, well, he's at the bottom at the moment, for that's where he leads. Now we jump back to A block. We have Robbie X versus Kushida. Now these guys, of course, if you guys can guess, these guys were not successful in the opening round of their matches, so they basically were at the bottom. But the real question is, who will be the one to get their first 2 points? Will it be Robbie X or Kushida? Now I think many of us probably would say Kushida will pick up his first win here, because, you know, he is Kushida, one of the best junior heavyweight competitors, you know, in the world. But Robbie X, as you know, I would say he is the guy who may be able to upset everyone. I mean, not like pissed off, but more like pick up a win we wouldn't expect. And that's exactly what he did when he applied the X Express onto, of course, Kushida. And just like that, he picked up his first 2 points. So basically, he is 1-1. As for Kushida, he is 0-2. Basically, 1 win. No wins, but 2 losses. So we'll see how things will progress. Our next match, we revert back to B block. We have Mao versus Taiji Shimori. Now Mao, of course, successful in his opening round match, except for Taiji, who was not. So the real question is, who will win this one in by media? I mean, will Mao actually pick up the win and join Robbie X as tying up? Or will Taiji Shimori finally get his 2 points? I mean, it was very crucial. I mean, Taiji Shimori is another kind of guy who's not there to play games. But Mao was able to try to divert him. And he tried many times the super kicks. I mean, it took effect, but not that much. But it took only a lariat by Mao to put away Ishimori. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he wins the match. So basically, he is currently tied with Robbie X with 4 points. with 2 wins and no losses. As for Ishimori, he only has no wins but 2 losses. Next match, we have A Block. We have, I hate this guy, Yoshinobu Kanemaru versus Clark Connors. Now, of course, it's no secret that these two guys are part of a faction that they had a war against each other. We're talking about the House of Torture and the Bullet Club War Dogs. Now, of course, we know Kanemaru. He would definitely try to find ways to cut corners, to cheat his way through, to ensure he picks up the win. But, of course, he played a smarter role where he decided to win by countout. So, basically, that's exactly what he did. He won this match by countout, giving him his first 2 points. So, basically, he is 1-1, just like Clark Connors as well. So, basically, 1 win, 1 loss. So, just like that. Now, our next match, well, this one is a very interesting one. And we revert back to the B block. We have Sho versus Yo. Now, for those who don't remember, or those who actually know, or those who never heard, Sho and Yo used to be part, of course, of a tag team that was formed by Rocky Romero, known as Roppongi 3K. They were considered one of the best tag teams until Sho turned his back on Yo and joined the House of Losers. Yeah, Evil's faction. And just like that, Sho has often run his mouth claiming that he is the best. Now, Yo, as you know, has not won this particular championship. The IWGP title has been eluding him. And we're asking, when is that moment going to arise? We will love to see that. But however, this match was interesting because Yo, he had something with him. Apparently, he somehow stole the whiskey bottle that belonged to Kanemaru. I'm sure Kanemaru is shitting in himself, asking, where's my whiskey bottle? Well, actually, Yo had plans for it, so he was going to spit whiskey mist into the eyes of Sho. And of course, Sho tried to run. But I knew whenever Sho is out, those a-holes, the effing House of Torture, were going to get involved. We saw Yujiro get involved, and so Evil. But what's amazing is, Yo, I have to say, he took it like a champ, endured every throw they had. I mean, they tried to dismantle him, but he was able to hold his own against Evil and Yujiro until effing Kanemaru had to spoil it for all of us. And just like that, Sho applied the shock arrow, and just like that, picked up the win. And of course, with his cockiness, he goes out running his mouth saying, hey, Yo, retire, you bastard. Oh no, he's not going to retire. I would like to see Yo really dismantle him completely. So we'll see what happens. I highly doubt Sho is going to win this tournament because they're all about cheating their way through. He's not the best because he's nothing but a big old crybaby with big diapers. Now, we revert back to A block. We have Dragon Dia versus Master Wato, one half of the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, with Yo. Now, I guess many people probably would say, if Dragon Dia wins this match, does he get an opportunity of the tag team titles? I mean, he would if he has to find a partner. But I have to say, anything could happen. But I think the one question is, who will advance in this match? I mean, Dragon Dia was successful winning his opening round match, except for Master Wato. And I think that's the one thing that we had to pay attention to. But however, it was, of course, Master Wato who picked up the win with the Sistame, and just like, which is like a version of the Kishikase, or the crucifix. Just like that, 1, 2, 3, he picked up his first 2 points. Now, this is a match I think many of you probably would love to see. We revert back to B block. We have Nick Wayne versus our current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, El Desperado. So that is one of the most crucial things. Now, Desperado mentioned in an interview that the only 2 people he feels deep down are a big threat to him is Mao and Nick Wayne. So basically, he considers those 2 the bigger threat in the tournament. Now, I don't know why he would say it, but it seems like that's what it is. I mean, Mao is no secrets about what he can do in the ring. Nick Wayne, yeah, I mean, people call him the prodigy. But the real question is, will Nick Wayne pick up an upset win? I think many people would never imagine. There's no way that Nick Wayne would beat El Desperado, but he was able to do so when he applied a Canadian Destroyer, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, he pinned the champion. So most likely, if Nick Wayne does not win the tournament, most likely he could cash in an opportunity for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. But I think many people may question, will it happen in Japan or will it happen in AEW? That's a good question. We don't know. I mean, I'm sure Desperado doesn't care where it's going to be as long as he defends it. I mean, that's personally my assumption about it, but we'll see. Now, our main event, we have Kosei Fujita taking on, of course, Hiromu Takahashi. Now, of course, this is a crucial match for Fujita because he's facing one of the best junior heavyweight competitors we have seen. I mean, Hiromu, we have seen what he can do in the ring, and it's no secret about his capabilities. But Kosei Fujita, as you know, his goal is to be the youngest IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, and that's exactly his goal. Now, many probably think there's no way he's going to beat Hiromu, but unfortunately, he did by giving him a pinfall, 1, 2, 3. Just like that, he defeated one of the best Junior Heavyweight competitors in New Japan. So basically, he is currently with 4 points, along with Nick Wayne, and I believe, who else? Let me see, I'm trying to revert my notes here. Yep, so we have Robbie Eagles, Mao, Nick Wayne, and of course Kosei Fujita. They're in fact with the 4 points. Now let me pull up on my phone of course there's the who's in the lead at the moment in the best of the Super Juniors here. I know I have it here. Okay, in the A block currently, Kosei Fujita is up ahead with 4 wins, so basically he's technically undefeated. Now, as for the B block, we have a 3-way tie who are in the lead: Robbie Eagles, Nick Wayne, and Mao. So all 3 of these men have 4 points. But we will see how things will roll up down the line. But as of right now, we are finished, and we'll move on with our next review, which is WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolve. Our opening match, Keanu Carver and Harlem Lewis taking on Gallus. Joe and his brother Mark Coffey along with Wolfgang in tow. Now, many of you know that recently the Gallus boys had suffered losses between either Carver and of course Lewis individually or possibly in tag team. However, this is where the moment the Gallus boys were attempting to regain what they lost. But, however, in this case, it was in fact the egos between both Carver and Harlem Lewis that allowed them to pick up the win, but the Gallus brothers to pick up the win. So basically, ego got in the way, and that's what it is. They took out, of course, Lewis outside the ring until Joe Coffey applied the Bell Lariat onto him, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, the Gallus boys picked up the win. Now, on a note here, I want to make this very interesting. For many of you to know, I reported recently, as you know, the Gallus boys were in fact released from WWE, but it later was reported that this was their last official match in Evolve, or more specifically in WWE, until they were released. So they're no longer part of it. So this was their official last match. Now, in the back, Timothy Thatcher, of course, was in the locker room getting ready until he was approached by Sean Legacy, a guy he has teamed up with and of course faced. However, Sean Legacy asked him if he can be in his corner because he's dealing with, of course, Lexus King. But the one thing that he was more worried about is the Vanity Project, who somehow aligned themselves with him. So he asked Timothy Thatcher, like, yo, bro, look, I respect you, but the problem is this: the Vanity Projects don't respect your accomplishments, what you have done in this world of wrestling. So he's telling him, I would like you to be in my corner. So basically, Timothy Thatcher thought this long and hard and said, okay, I'll do it. Now, we did see an interview with Idris Inoue, who we haven't seen, of course, for 7 months. For those who don't know him, Idris Inoue, along with Malik Blade, were considered one of the most impressive tag teams, but they never won the NXT tag team belts. And we haven't seen them in months. he was being interviewed by Chuy Martinez. Now, this is where things were interesting. It seems now the Edris Enofe is going solo. So basically, Malik Blade will not be involved. So I don't know what's going to happen until then. We haven't heard anything from Malik Blade. But it's great to hear Edris Enofe. For those who don't know, he actually was training here in San Diego with a school called Level Up that's no longer called that. They called it the San Diego Pro Wrestling Academy. But anyway, Edris Enofe is just going to go a solo, so we don't know when we'll see him wrestle, but hopefully soon. Now, while the Edris Enofe interview was happening, Mason Holiday was excited to hear that he was back. She tried to get Chanel Monroe to get in the conversation, but of course she was not, paying attention, because there is one thing in everybody's mind. As you probably know, there's been a battle about who's going to be the top female in Evolve. And of course, Mason Holiday has to deal with, of course, Callie Armstrong. And that's exactly what happened. But in the match, of course, Callie Armstrong applied the Callie connection. And just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. Now, during the post-match, she put out a promo talking about, she told everybody, saying that she's going to win the championship and she's going to be the one leading the women's division in Evolve. However, Zeta Steele's like, oh, hell no, bitch. That's not going to happen because it's not meant for you. So that's the whole thing was happening. While that was happening, so did Chantel Monroe, Kylie Ray, and then all hell broke loose because they're trying to determine who's going to be the one leading the women's division. But however, Callie Armstrong thought she had everything under control until Kendall Gray showed up and took her out. Of course, we saw what happened last time. Kendall Gray had her injured leg thanks to the scuffle that happened last week. But the real question is, would this should be a concern for Callie Armstrong? That is something we will wait and see. Now, Stevie Turner, as you know, she's been paying attention as our Prime Minister of Evolve. She told Kiana Carver that she'll give him a match with Lewis next week. And of course, it did. Now, our next match, we have It's Gal taking on Javier Bernal. Now, Javier Bernal, as you know, has been gone for a while due to injury. It seems Gal is like saying, oh, come on, stop being a whiner. You don't belong here. So basically, he's trying to prove his point. But I think many people might have thought that It's Gal was going to be the one to pick up the win. But nope, out of nowhere, Javier Bernal applied a victory roll. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he picked up an amazing win. But however, It's Gal had to go to his little, in his diapers, crying like a little big baby over the loss. So that's exactly what happened. So he destroyed him. Now, I want to put a note here as well. For those who don't know, Javier Bernal is amongst the recent releases that happened. Also, just like Gallus, this was his last official match. Now, I don't know how this would affect him personally with his wife, who is currently still with WWE, but we'll see how things roll up. Now, Stevie Turner was in the back talking to Nikita Lyons. She was apparently considering her being part of the Fatal 4-Way of for the upcoming Evolve Women's Championship. However, Nikita Lyons is saying, no, I don't want that. I want to challenge whoever becomes the inaugural champion. So she's trying to play their smart game. So basically, that's what happened. So I don't know where they're going to go from there. Now, in the back, and then we see, of course, Chuy Martinez conducts an interview with Kylie Ray, as you probably know. She's part of the Fatal 4-Way that will be involved whoever becomes the Evolved Women's Champion. However, there is one question. I think Chuy was wondering about the whole thing with Wendy Chu. So it seems like right now she has to focus on this one. Now, I wouldn't pass Wendy Chu to screw her because she's been known like, oh, you're not going to leave that alone or ignore me. But we'll see how that rolls up. Now, Stevie Turner was once again in the back as our Prime Minister of Evolve, talking to a guy named Troy Yearwood, giving him his opportunity. But of course, It's Gal had to run his mouth, once again being a complete a-hole, saying that, he destroyed Javier Bernal, but it wasn't his choice. But of course, It's Gal, but Stevie Turner was not having it with him, being an a-hole that he was. Even, of course, Troy stood up for Stevie Turner. So we'll see how these will roll up. Now, our main event features Sean Legacy taking on Lexis King. As you all know, recently Lexis King had as you know, has been aligned himself with, of course, the Vanity Project. Of course, Sean Legacy feels like that you're stepping into a realm that you were trying to, how to say, he feels like, hey, I busted my balls here in this brand before you decided to show up. But of course, the Vanity Project are trying to run their game, like saying, oh, we're the ones running it, bitch. That's how it works. So that's what they've been doing the entire time. But luckily, of course, uh, Timothy Thatcher was by his side. But of course, Vanity Project attack. Of course, we had that idiot Brad Taylor, Ricky Smokes, Jackson Drake. Of course, Sean Legacy chose to save Timothy Thatcher, but that cost him dearly when Lexus King applied the coronation, and just like that. And of course, Vanity Project laughing their asses off, thinking they got away with it. But sooner or later, Sean Legacy will get even with those guys. But however, the entire program ended when, of course, there was some sort of a scuffle in the back. I couldn't tell if it was Carly Bright or Brinley Reese that was attacked. Apparently, someone was attacked and their elbow was messed up. But we'll see how things will roll out next week. So I think that's pretty much it. What we have with, of course, WWE Evolve. Let's move forward with our last review, AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite Spring Beach Break. We opened up, but of course, with tag team action. Will Ospreay and Hangman Page, two guys that will face each other at Double or Nothing in the finals of the Owen Hart tournament. However, they have to deal with, of course, with that snake of the grass and his so-called family, Konosuke Takeshita and Josh Alexander. But I think many of us always question, can Will Ospreay and Hangman coexist? Because you got to remember, just like I said with the Harlem Lewis and of course with what's his name, Keanu Carver, it's all about ego. That's always been one of the things we got to pay attention to. And of course, I'm sure Don Callis, being the genius that he is, thought the same thing too. But of course, he never shuts up. He never actually stays out of people's business, claiming that he thinks that everybody's a narcissist. I think he's a bald-headed narcissist himself. But anyway, the real question is, can Hangman and Ospreay coexist? Well, they did in some ways. But the one thing that was interesting is how this ended. Well, we did see a combination of the buckshot lariat and hidden blade on Josh Alexander, and just like that, it was over. But of course, there was retaliation from the family, so that's how it is. Of course, the Don Callis family are nothing but overgrown crybabies for losing, so that's what they are. Now, Top Flight, as you know, will be in an Eliminator match talking about their upcoming match, but their biggest thing was MJF getting involved, attacking them for no reason. But however, the Sons of Texas, our current ROH tag team champions, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, well, Dustin being, of course, a veteran that he is, he likes the passion of what Top Flight was saying. And of course, he said that they are going to watch this match because they want to see if they can pull it off. Now, our next match, we have Ricochet versus Zach Gowen. For those who remember Zach Gowen was that one wrestler who, in fact, wrestled with one leg. So basically, Ricochet had to deal with them last week. And of course, Ricochet being the total dickhead that he is, he decided to stir the pot, even humiliate Zach's family was right there. Of course, we would have thought that Zach Gowen would have picked up an upset, but however, he did use the prosthetic leg, and then, of course, applying the spirit gun. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But of course, Ricochet was not done. He decided to take him out, but thank God for Mark Briscoe showing up to help him. So yeah, of course, Ricochet was going to run to the hills for that. And of course, Mark Briscoe gave Zach Gowen back his prosthetic leg. So basically, that's how it ends. Now, MJF was, of course, talking with Renee until the Hurt Business, saying that later on they want him to be in the ring. Now, the Hurt Business made their presence known in the ring because they're part of the Eliminator match for the AEW Tag Team belts, which they are currently the champions. They take on Top Flight. Now, you would think in some capacity, I mean, Top Flight, they are, to me, the ultimate underdogs. They are always the guys that you wouldn't think anything could happen. But, of course, this match ended with Bobby Lashley putting the Hurt Lock onto Dante, and just like that, it was over. But however, the Sons of Texas showed up, saying that they're pleading their case. As you guys notice, we are the ROH tag team belts, so we should definitely get a shot of the tag belts. But of course, Top Flight's old buddies, crew, consisting of Leo Rush and Action Andretti, are like saying, step aside, boys. But of course, MVP, who knows what Dustin Rhodes is talking about, says this: how about you four characters take care of this in Collision, and whoever wins will challenge us at, of course, Double or Nothing. So basically, this is their shot. Now, while they were in the ring, they've been calling out MJF. Shelton Benjamin, well, for a guy who's like in his age, was able to run fast enough to bring MJF. And MJF was a bit nervous because he knows the last time he got scared by Bobby Lashley. So the obvious question is, will we get a 3 thumbs up? We already got that with MVP. We got that with Shelton Benjamin. But later, Bobby Lashley, well, he was like, just like that, relief was set in. So that means MJF is part of the Hurt Syndicate. Now, our next match is another Eliminator match with the AEW Women's title. Toni Storm, our current champion, faces Azumi, our brand new New Japan Strong Women's Champion. Also, Mina Shirakawa, who's been making her AEW debut. As you know, she is no longer with Stardom. And, of course, the return of Sky Blue. I mean, the match, there was some good moments. I mean, Azumi and Mina clashed again because if you guys know this, both Mina and Azumi were in that 3-way match for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship match in Resurgence by New Japan. But I don't know about Toni and Sky Blue. But the real question is, will Toni Storm pick up the win? Surprisingly, it was Mina Shirakawa who picked up the win. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, pinfall, it was over. So basically, she gets an opportunity, but out of nowhere, it just foretold Mina is the one who's going to challenge Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship at Double or Nothing. So basically, that's what's going to happen. But during the post-match, apparently, Azumi was being escorted to the ring by referee Aubrey Edwards until she was attacked by Mercedes Moné, of course, another overgrown crybaby, who still cries the fact that she lost the New Japan Strong Women's title to Azumi. However, if I was Mercedes Moné, I wouldn't drop my guard down because she has to face her opponent in the Owen Hart tournament. What's her name? Jamie Hayter. So Jamie Hayter took care of business. So that might have been her mistake. Now, many of you know what happened this weekend. Sabu passed away. I have to say, Taz, he was really emotional. I mean, these guys had a great history as rivals, and I think that's one of the things that really touched us because he knows the kind of man Sabu is. I mean, we seen what Sabu was, and of course, everybody, including Excalibur and Ian Riccaboni, they were doing the thing that, of course, Sabu does all the time. So I thought that was a great touching moment. Now, it seems like during an interview with Renee Paquette, MJF and MVP were talking business about attorneys. So basically, that sort of thing. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm sure they're going to work things out. Now, Tony Schiavone was in the ring to talk to Nigel McGuinness. Now, for those who don't know what happened this past weekend, Nigel McGuinness crossed the line by, of course, costing Daniel Garcia his match against Dax Harwood. So Nigel decided to set the record straight. Yes, I lost my composure. I was pissed. But he wanted to apologize to Daniel Garcia for costing him his match. But Daniel Garcia told him this: look, keep your apologies. You did what you thought was necessary. They crossed the line. He said he would have done the same thing if it was him. But he also told him to be realistic, Nigel. You saw what they did to Copeland. You saw what they did to him. You don't think they would have done the same thing too? So basically, he's telling him that sooner or later, they're going to try to hurt you the same way they did with him. But it's up to him. And of course, Stokely Hathaway had to show up. But, however, we should have known better that this was a trap by FTR. But luckily, Daddy Magic was there as backup. But sooner or later, Nigel McGuinness has to think clearly. Because Daniel Garcia is right. Sooner or later, FTR is going to wipe him out. And that's the last thing he needs. I mean, we saw that with Cope. Do we need that with Nigel? I don't know. So we'll just gotta wait and see. Now our main event is the AEW World Title in a steel cage match. Samoa Joe faces Jon Moxley. As you know, Jon Moxley has been able to retain the title thanks to those dirtbags, the Death Riders. And of course, we would have assumed they would have been taken care of because apparently we did see Willow Nightingale and Hobbs take care of business. But what we didn't anticipate is the help of an unlikely ally we did not know. And it turned out to be Gabe Kidd. He gave the briefcase to Mox, took out Joe, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, they retained the belt. However, of course, we still don't know what really was going on. Was Gabe Kidd was in fact doing this out of his own habit, or was there an uneasy alliance between them, the Gabe Kidd, and the Bucks? Because we saw them coming out, then they tried to shake hands, like try to come up with the deal, because the Bucks are saying, Mox, you're right. We're trying to save AEW the same way you do. So we're trying to make peace here. However, Kenny Omega showed up. So he took care of both Claudio and Wheeler until Okada showed up. Now they thought they had this under control because they lowered the cage until whose house? Yep, Swerve Strickland showed up, took care of business, and of course, Death Riders, the Bucks, and Kid ran like cowards with their tails between their legs. However, Swerve told them, "You think I should be fear? No, I am the fear." But he also said that if you want to see anarchy, let's do Anarchy Arena, which is a very interesting a match that happens only at Double or Nothing. So most likely, Swerve, Kenny, Samoa Joe, Hobbs, and whoever else, they're going to deal with the Death Riders, the Bucks, and Gabe Kidd. So we'll see what happens from here on out. So we'll stay tuned for more on that. So as of right now, we are officially done with our reviews. Let's move on with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin as always with the upcoming events. As you know, later on this month, on May 17th, we have the NWA Crockett Cup taking place on the 17th of May. However, it's been later told. Now, originally, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship will be defended. Tom Latimer will defend the belt against Rhino. But however, for some reason, Kobe Carino has been added. So this match will now be a three-way. This was something that was later posted by none other than NWA owner and president, William Patrick Corgan, or as we know him, Billy Corgan. Now, all-female promotion from the UK, Pro Wrestling EVE, has announced for their upcoming event on June 6th in London. Bozilla will be making her debut. Yeah, it's the same Bozilla you all know from, of course, from MARIGOLD. So she'll be making her debut. However, 2 championship matches have been announced. The first one is the EVE International Championship. Anita Vaughn will defend her belt against Lucia Lee. And then, of course, it was announced that the IWGP Women's Championship will be defended. Shooty makes her first defense against Alex Windsor. So that's going to take place as well. Now, on some developments, many of you who know this, when MARIGOLD was launched, there's one thing that, of course, every promotion has is their own dojo. Well, MARIGOLD did not have, of course, a dojo. They were were renting out the dojo from LLPW, another promotion that runs by Shinobi. And now Rossy posted a photo saying that they're inspecting a potential dojo. So it's not been confirmed yet if this is going to be the one, but will give us updates on that. So we'll see. Now, Willow Nightingale, for those who don't know, there's been reports about her, the possibility that she will be a free agent. Well, it was later revealed by Fightful Select that she has re-signed a multi-year deal with AEW. So I think many of us are glad that she's staying with AEW. Now, As you all know, recently we talked this. Many people gave their honest opinion about Mayu Iwatani appearing in MARIGOLD. But there was one person that, of course, has been meaning to face her one-on-one when she got the chance, but never able to defeat her or lose to her. And that is, of course, Giulia. And she had this to say. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah. This is what she said. That smile-filled interaction with Ogawa at the presser made me feel warm inside. Her match with Nana Takahashi, from the entrance to the match to closing the promo, everything was so Mayu. Before I knew, I was crying too. So basically, Giulia seems happy that Mayu is in MARIGOLD. Now, many of you may question me, why is she happy about it? Maybe because here's the thing, guys. Giulia was recently not happy with what happened in her final years with in Stardom. If you guys remember, Giulia felt that Bushiroad has been doing things that she felt uncomfortable. For those who don't know, she never liked the idea of defending the red belt against Maya Yuiki, who is someone who in real life hated, back from their Ice Ribbon days. And that was one of the main reasons. And she felt that Bushiroad destroyed the vision of Rossy Ogawa. And I think deep down she felt, Mayu, you're Rossy's daughter. You should come down to our place. This is where you belong. And I think deep down she felt that Mayu belongs with MARIGOLD, not Stardom. I mean, she felt that she should have been better off with him. And now she's happy that she finally did it. Now that she lost the IWGP Women's title, everything she did for the Runaway Wrestler Project, well, that's all done. And now she's there. But like I said, I think that we will see those two face off each other at some point. But as of right now, that's only time will tell. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates. Let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we will continue with Day 4 of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Best of the Super Junior. Then we have TNA and Ring of Honor. Now, if there's any other reviews I want to do, like I said, I'm behind on certain ones. We'll just wait and see what happens. But as of right now, we'll leave things as it is. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.